Hello, I'm James. Welcome to WSI, where I talk to the great and good in professional wrestling. And with me today, I have the longest tenured referee in WWE history, one of the longest employees of WWE history, like 31, 32 years, I think, as well. Here he is, Mike Chioda. How you doing, buddy?
Good, James. How you doing today, buddy? How's it going, mate?
It's warm. But it's,
Yeah, it's
it's
good.
only warm in my office. That's the problem.
Yeah,
It's freezing
okay.
outside.
I was gonna say the UK's getting beautiful weather, huh?
No.
No,
you've
not
you, you
lately.
you've been here enough times to know that this place never
Yeah,
gets nice weather.
yeah, it rains, but yeah, sometimes in April, May, you get some nice sunny days though. It's nice weather. I like the cool weather anyway. So
God, well, you
yeah,
love it. If you like the cool, wet weather, you would love it here as well. When was the first
yeah.
time you were in this country, anyway?
Oh God, it had been a late mid 1980s, late 80s, and it was building up. We were doing. I remember I first got to the UK in London, and being from New Jersey. It was like, New York, Philadelphia was right, my backyards. Going to London was like a shock to me because I didn't know there was another city bigger than New York. So it was funny, man. I remember I get to the airport and saying, "Hey, I had to stay at the Holiday Inn at the Lexington Square," and I called the hotel. Finally got changed. Called the hotel. I'm like, "Hey, what's the best way to get to your hotel?" She's like, "Just take the tube, love. Take the tube." And I'm like, "The tube?" I'm like, she kept saying that. And I'm like, wasn't there a train or something I could take around here or somewhere? And she's like, "No, just take the tube." I'm like, "Ma'am, what do you mean? The tube like the Jetsons and stuff? Like I get it, something just shoots me there." No, love, the train. I said, "That's what I've been asking." But what an experience. And it was building all the way up to that big show when we started hitting, Europe a lot in the late 80s. And in London, 92, Wembley Arena,
Oh yeah, of
Wembley
course.
and we did the SummerSlam there, which was fantastic, with 82,000 people with Bret Hart and Bulldog going at it in the main event. And actually, Joe Morella did that match, so it was
Hmm.
pretty cool.
I was going to mention like two things to remember obviously is Brett and Davey because any Englishman worth his soul will remember that match if they're a wrestling fan. But also it was the time when
Yeah.
Hawk just completely disappeared.
Right, right, right. And it was good times in Europe. In the UK, we used to sell out everywhere, and just UK has got a great fan base. Love performing for the UK and all over the UK. And England is just a fantastic country, and I missed the banoffee pie. I'll tell you that.
I tell you what, just because you mentioned SummerSlam, right? I've got a list of questions as long as your arm, and
You got it.
I never answer like ask like two-thirds of them because we just end up going through it and everything. But
Right.
since you brought up SummerSlam '92, you've got to give us like the full day of just beginning to end because it's such a special event. In anyone, any wrestling fan around here loved it.
Yeah, I mean, 92, like I went out there a week prior to the show because we had to make sure all the ring parts were out there. And I was set up the ring too as well in refereeing. Actually, I did have a match on in SummerSlam, but had a great time. I mean, got there a week early. I must have spent like I went to Harrods. I thought everything was basically the same price, and everybody told me England's going to be a lot more expensive. But I'm like looking at the sneakers, these pump sneakers, and they were $99. Let alone when I spent probably 2,000 American, it was like 40 something hundred on my credit card. It's like double the price. I didn't really understand the exchange. Even being in Europe for a few years, it was just it was a lot of fun though, drinking all out of my mini bar and then thinking all these bottles cost me double the price in American. So but I had a blast. The show was 82,000 people plus. It was a phenomenal show. I remember like one thing that really broke out was Undertaker's entrance. That entrance was phenomenal there at Wembley Stadium. And I think it was a very successful show, and it really kicked off. I think that show there kicked off wrestling in the UK. Really kicked it off.
Yeah, there was it was on Sky. You'll be
Yeah,
familiar
Sky
with Sky
Television.
TV. I think
Yeah,
Sky bought Superstars like maybe '89 or '90. It was briefly on ITV Channel 3,
right.
and then Sky snapped it up in like '89, and then just for whatever reason, just wrestling just went. I mean, that's why they ended up bringing it here in the first place. Was because there was
Right.
so much viewership on quite a niche station at the time as well.
Yeah, Sky Sports was huge. I mean, getting on there. So I mean, and just after that, like it was just we had great time slots on TV, with Sky and everything. So I mean, it was a huge network in Europe and the UK and stuff there. So I mean, that's where wrestling, I think, just blew up after that. So, and then, we love doing the tours every 2 months, out of the year. We'd go around for 17 days and do all over England, everywhere.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions, and I reckon a lot of them are going to revolve around you getting in trouble on European tours. So
Yeah, right.
I'll bring them up over the course of the interview. But I'll tell you what, the first thing I really want to know, and
I
no one,
didn't start the fight in Manchester, though. I'll tell you that.
the is that the one with Jericho and the t-shirts and stuff?
Yeah, it was. That was the one with like no, with Batista and everybody. We pulled up to the Hilton. That was when and Benoit was there. It was a fight with a football club. I remember with like a
Right.
kickboxing team. It was a kickboxing team. So yeah, we got in a big fight there in Manchester one night, but we'll get to that.
I think we should get to it right now. Then let's
All
throw
right.
throw out the script. You've got to get to that. What sort of kicked that one off then?
No, it was just they were all drinking. They were, they came back from a tournament. They were staying at the Hilton there in Manchester. We had come off the road already for 10 days, and we were on the road for about 10 days. We were going into TV, doing TV late Sunday night. We were pulling into Manchester, and like I said, we did shows in the States, and then we did our TVs, and then we were already in a week in Europe. So we were coming back at about 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and this team was sitting there. Kickboxing team was sitting in the lobby area, and they were all drinking, just having fun. And then somebody said something to somebody, and they wouldn't clear it away. And then next thing you know, a big fight just broke out, and everybody was running off the bus. We were all fighting dudes and just roaming around, and it was a good old time there. But,
Who was most in their element in such a brawl?
yeah, it was Batista was in that brawl, Benoit was in that brawl, everybody was just all over the place. I mean, because it was a good amount of guys. It was a good about 20 some guys, and it was about 20 some of us. So yeah. And I
Yeah.
remember Johnny Laurinaitis running out, guys, stop. But yeah, all hell broke loose after that though for a little while. So and then everything calmed down.
No fines or anything. It was just
No, we were just protecting our buddies, whoever got into the fight in the beginning when they walked into the lobby. We're tired and grizzled, and they were drunk and fired up, and then just fired us right up. That's it.
nice one. I mean, what a story to kick off the show. I'll tell you, I'm going to get to my first question.
You got it. Go ahead.
Why do you
Shoot.
always wear that thing on your wrist? Like, on your
Uh,
upper forearm? Do you have
yeah,
like
it
a
was just
band?
more like when you sweat, and you could just wipe your sweat off, really, because you couldn't really just take your shirt and just wipe your sweat a lot. So, I used to definitely be in there times when you have a lot of lights above you and you're doing 30-minute matches and 40-minute matches. It gets hot in there. But
Yeah.
it's just mostly for the sweat. That's why they call it a sweatband, wristband.
No, do you know what? I always thought because you wore it on your forearm, I was thinking, are you like taking your own pulse all the way through or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, right. When I'm blowing up or something, right? Doing a gauntlet match. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and then I used to wear an elbow thing because I had an elbow problem for a little bit. And I just came off of surgery a year and a half ago. So and that's actually when I got released. I was still rehabbing my shoulder. I had a bicep surgery and rotator cuff at the same time. Had Dr. Dugas in Alabama do it. He was one of the best in the world. And then I was just about coming back to WrestleMania, which was in Tampa, in which I had just moved to Tampa from Houston. And I got the call April 15th. I was released, and it was like a bunch of us, like Tony Chimmel, John D'Amico, everybody with 38, 35 years. I've been with the company 35 years. Tony Chimmel was 38 years. D'Amico 32 years. And there was a guy, Mark Eaton. He just got released a few years back. He was with the company 30 years for no apparent reason.
Hmm. Is it? Well, actually, when you say no apparent reason, I mean there's like a couple of theories going on around, and on one of your ad-free shows, which is a
Mm-hmm.
free plug, I'll be plugging all the videos and all the clips and everything like that with the ad-free shows and everything. You
Right.
mentioned some geezer called Mark Carano may have had a hand in it. Is that just theory or
Well, I
really?
mean, he was the head of talent relations, but if he wanted to maybe budget his talent relations TR department, um, I was the first one to cut maybe because I was maybe making too much more than anybody else, but rightfully so for being there for 35 years and stuff. So, I mean, it's just I don't think it was really had anything to do with budget cuts or anything like that. I just think it was just they just released us. That was it.
Well, it was Jerry Briscoe. He went at about the same time, didn't he?
Yeah, and he went out at the same time. A lot of guys were going out at the same time. I mean, they just didn't want to resign Big Show, and then he goes to AEW. They didn't want to resign Brock Lesnar. They didn't want to resign Mark Henry. And they didn't want to pay him. That's what I'm hearing. So they just didn't want to pay him. They're still releasing people here and there. So trickling down. And there's rumors that they're going to sell the company to Disney. So in Orlando. So I mean, who better off to own the company but to Disney? You know, it's so that's rumors.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. Was there was a long-standing theory going on that they're trying to keep the stock up, either so Vince McMahon can unload a load of stock, or just get rid of the company to Viacom or Disney or whoever.
Well, I think Disney would be the perfect company to buy them. I mean, they got the money. If they got $8 billion, 8.6 billion, and then where else would you want to probably hold a Hall of Fame would be probably Disney. You know, I mean, Hall of Fame studio in Disney of wrestling from years and years, and all the Hulk Hogan, the Rocks, the Andre the Giants, and Bruno Sammartino's to everybody back in the day. You can hold a beautiful Hall of Fame, and that would be the best place to have it. Disney, you know.
Yeah. But
everybody from all over the world goes there.
It's a flip of the coin, though, isn't it? Because they bought Star Wars, and on one hand you've got The Mandalorian, which was great.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you've got Episode 9, which was terrible. So it could go either way.
Right. I mean, Disney's owning everything right now, so
yeah,
in their hands on everything. So we'll see what happens.
I tell you what, sorry, I forgot to switch the camera there. I'm actually switching the camera. I'm directing it myself at the same time. So I'm going back to my pre-prepared questions, and it's another obvious one, and then we'll get back to sort of the old school where I'm way more familiar. AEW referee. You did a few shots for them, and then you sort of didn't go back. What's the relationship like?
Tony Khan, I don't know. Like Cody was high on me. A lot of guys were high on me there. I mean, it was just train the referees or help out as much as I can and do some matches. But you know, like I don't think maybe Khan was interested in referees really or something like that. So it just you know, went there probably just to add to the show for a few times. And Cody, I appreciate him inviting me down, and Chris Jericho, Y2J, you know, and Tony Khan. But yeah, it just didn't work out. So I mean, it's, you know, see what happens. You know, I mean, if they do call when they go to 2 shows or something like that, because I know they're going to need more referees. So if the call's there, it's there. If it's not, you know.
Yeah, but at least you can make money sat at home doing podcasts and stuff now as well, without all the hassle and travel in the COVID times.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Yeah, I had to make that transition in the podcast. So it's actually pretty cool telling the stories.
I'll tell you what, here's another story for you to tell. Life as a referee. Now, I, as a layman, not in the business, I realise that referees are also on the ring crew. So what total jobs would the referee have? You know, what time would you get to an arena, let's say a house show arena? What would you do before the reffing?
Yeah, I mean, you would drive the trucks. We were driving the trucks. Tony and Jim and I, for 20-something years, 22 years, we traveled, and he ring announced, and I refereed at the shows, and we would drive the trucks all day, get there about 1 o'clock for a live event, 12 o'clock noon. If it was a bigger venue like Madison Square Garden, LA Staples Arena, Chicago or something, we'd get there earlier and, you know, set up the ring. And it would take a few hours to set up the ring and production and stuff. And then we'd go to lunch, come back and prepare for the show, ring announce, referee, and then tear down and then drive to the next city. Next city could be 4, 5, 6 hours away, and then just do it all over again.
Well, what time would you actually leave the arena? Because I imagine it's got to be way after the last match.
At least midnight, 12:30, because you'd have the last match with 10:30, 10:45, sometimes 11 o'clock. And then by the time we got the ring down, loaded up, it'd take to 12:30 to get the ring in the truck. And then me and Tony were off with the ring truck, you know, to the next city.
Yeah. Would you ever set up like the sets themselves, or would there be another crew to do all that?
No, there's different crews for different parts. Like we'd set the barricades and that, and the ramp and so forth. And we do a little bit of everything. Back in the day, we did everything, banners. We kind of did a lot. So it's just, and then after a while, you had so many guys doing just banners and so many guys doing this. And then now there's the separate guys that do the stage, the ring. It's like a certain set of guys for a certain part of everything.
Right. Well,
whether it's stage, ramp, ring, ring, barricades.
Pyro, obviously.
Pyro, yeah, they don't do the pyro that much anymore, though. They need to come back with the pyro, that's for sure. Zenith Pyro used to do our pyro for many years, and they kind of let them go many years ago.
Yeah, I suppose when fans get back in.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah,
more worth it doing then.
definitely, definitely.
All right, I'm going to give you. You've probably answered this one a million times before, but the
Yeah.
first match you ever officiated, and how scared were you?
Um, I was real nervous, but I had two guys that were good guys way back, and it was, and I don't know if you remember, like the Brooklyn Brawler.
Of course, I just interviewed
And
him a few weeks ago. In fact,
did you
I
really?
really
Wow,
did. Yeah,
great.
lovely guy.
So yeah, like Brooklyn Brawler and Barry Horowitz was my first match, man, and he would Barry Horowitz and Brawler were definitely like entertainers. And that Barry Horowitz, he was a hell of a worker too. So I mean, and he was fun to watch, and so I was very nervous, but those guys helped me out and taught me a lot. And Joey helped me out in the ring, just helped me out with during the day we'd go over stuff, and the wrestlers would help you out if they liked you, and I had a lot of knowledge came from all old school wrestlers, with me. So it came with a lot of old school wrestlers, which really helped me in my career.
Yeah. With matches, and I don't know if this changes over the years when you get more senior, but would people actually come to you? I mean, obviously, if you were like involved in a certain portion of the match other than the counting, would they come to you for advice of if you're going to get knocked down in a match? Would you put your input into a match?
Oh yeah, definitely got to put my input into it. And definitely they would ask an experienced referee like Charles Robinson, myself, and Chad Patton, or John Cone, or somebody like that. And you have to, because you have to take it from a referee standpoint of view, what's going to look best for the match. And so I mean that's what watching AEW is a little hard, man, because they just, as a referee, and I love all the guys and the talent that I know, so many talent, and it's great to watch this new talent like Darby and a lot of these other guys, and Orange Cassidy and this upcoming, and the Young Bucks. But it's just hard to watch as a referee because they just jump all over the referees, man. It's just the referees are there for the pinfall, and they just acknowledge the tag in. That's it. There's no 5 counts in the corner, no 10 counts outside, or it's kind of just run all over the referees at times. But I hope they tighten that up, just as a referee standpoint. You know.
I'm going to give you this one, right. So what is, and I pretty much know what the wrestlers' pay structure will be like, maybe in the 80s and 90s, and then guaranteed contracts and everything afterwards, and downsides. What was the pay structure like for a referee coming in? Would you have a certain amount of dates like the wrestlers?
Yeah, you'd have a certain amount of dates as a referee, especially if you did ring crew. You were definitely at the show, so you would referee that show. JR and back in the 80s and 90s, referee pay scales were great, phenomenal. Like if we did London, I would get 3,000 for London, American dollars. For it would be London, um, Berlin, all the major cities that like if we went to Sydney or Melbourne, or in big cities like that on the Europe tour, those would be the highest paid. But the boys were making a lot more than that. So I mean, if the referee was making way back then in the 80s and 90s, 3,000, 2,500 a night, the boys were making 10 grand, 8 grand a night. And then you had the top guys making more money.
Hmm.
So pay scales were good, because I mean, when I seen the Dark Side of the Ring with Warrior and a bunch of guys in Dino Bravo, they were buying $1 million houses in the 80s and 90s. I was like, wait, where is some of that money? But remember, the referees can't get, they don't get paid for dolls. They don't get any dolls in the WWE. They can't have any shirts. They can't get paid for video games or nothing. They won't put us on the video games. So it's kind of tough, And I don't know why they do that. So.
With like the mid-90s and stuff like that, when times are a bit lean, would you be like slipped into the talent pool pay or something like that, just to shore up your wages if a house was a bit low?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If the house was low, you wouldn't get paid as much. You definitely. I mean, there's times that you're getting paid $500 a night to travel around the world, and it's like, wow, after taxes and the money you spend, before you know it, you're making $150 a night.
Hmm.
So I mean, yeah, definitely. When business was bad, we used to feel it in the pockets too. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, actually, you preempted another question I was going to ask was about royalties. So you mentioned obviously WWE Network that they don't really give many royalties to anyone, I don't think. But I asked this Don Morocco actually, and he said apart from Hulk Hogan, who had a special deal, maybe Roddy Piper, and obviously
Yeah.
Jesse Ventura, who sued for it. Mr. Fuji also sued successfully and got a payout for royalties and stuff, but that doesn't stretch to So does that not stretch to like commentary or refs or anything like that ever?
No, reps don't get it, period. So I mean, that's the thing. Maybe they shortened his paycheck, Mr. Fuji's paycheck, for a while. They give him the right percentage or something at that time, and so and they figured it out. But maybe sued him for that. But I mean, the referees don't even get a chance to get royalties. So, and they're the least paid. That's for sure on the show.
We're getting off the royalties then. Between refs, is there a bit of rivalry? Like, you're fighting over a certain match that you both want to, let's say you or Tim White are having a bit of a fight over who wants to referee Chris Jericho versus Triple H, let's say.
Yeah, that wouldn't really be a factor. Like the live events, we do the matches equally, rightfully so. And there's some guys that would want you to do your matches, but it was always done by production. So there's a production meeting every TV for like 2 hours, and they'll either set the referees up and stuff like that for those matches and so forth. So I mean, it's never. It was like when you see there's times like when like Shawn Michaels wrestled Undertaker for the first time, and Charles did an unbelievable job in that match. You'd say as a referee, God, I wish I had that match, because you never knew if it was going to be like it was, I mean, and I sit there and go, wow, I wish I had that match one, day in my career. And I'm sure there's other referees going, man, I wish I had Rock and Hogan in 2002, icon against icon. I mean, that was just phenomenal in Toronto Skydome. So the reaction and the shove off and the reactions just to all the little stuff, the big push off, and it was just amazing. So
since you brought it up, I'm going to mention it because that's something else I had to
yeah,
bring up. Is because I wrote a book, and I've mentioned it all the time. I wrote a book on The Rock last year, and use every time to plug it, and it's in the background as well, as you might be able to see. I contend in the book and in real life that anybody who says that wasn't a great match, like a 5-star match, is missing the entire point of the business.
yeah, entire point is right, because it's not going to be no high flying coming off the top rope match and stuff like this. This was icon against icon, and there was a lot of expectation for that match. I mean, whether they were going to really hit it, and everything panned out great. I had to take a bump in that match, and it worked out great. I mean, Hogan looked great. I mean, for his age, coming down that ramp, and then the way the crowd just reacted to Hogan, it was phenomenal. I mean, it was just, and here's, like I always said, like Rock, Hogan passed the torch to Rock, in 2002 at the Skydome. And then after that, Rock took the torch and went to Hollywood. Pretty much. So, I mean, but it was just, that's fantastic for all the years that we've seen Hogan do. And from Rock came into the business and then went into Hollywood. And look where the Rock's at now. He's one of the most popular Hollywood stars there is in the world.
So we're still in the match then. When 2 questions actually. One, when did you realise that Rock was going to get booed out of the building? And 2, when did you get the goosebumps on your arm when you just knew it was going to be special?
As soon as Hogan came out, it was like they were just behind Hogan all the way, all the way. And they kind of knew Rock was going off to Hollywood too at that point too, So it was kind of, Canada is such a great fan base and look at all the wrestlers that came out of Canada too, it's just amazing. So, they're pretty smart fans, but they said, hey man, we're going with this guy, man, for the last 15, 20 years watching him as a kid, and rightfully so. He looked phenomenal coming out, great shape for his age. And at that point, and, phenomenal match, man. Yeah. Never forget it.
I'm gonna posit something to you then. I've heard like a couple of the Deutsche writers say that Hulk Hogan outworked The Rock and basically made himself look so much better at The Rock's expense. I'm not sure I buy that, but where do you fall on that?
I'm not buying that. They both made each other look great. I mean, it was phenomenal, man. I mean, Rock had to work a certain way with Hogan, and Hogan's only got so many moves and so many, things to do. I mean, the way they put everything into the match from entrance to finish was great. I mean, it should have been the last match of the night, but it wasn't, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately for you, it would have got the better payoff as well, maybe.
Yeah, right. That's the truth. Good point there.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you another one here. Do referees have groupies?
I'm sorry.
Do referees get groupies on the? I don't know when you got married, so this might
Oh,
have to be
no,
a
yeah,
fictional
no.
question.
Oh, well, no, it's all right. Back in the day, there was tons of groupies. I mean, I would call it. There were tons of girls out there. It was fun, man. Like it was a lot of fun because it kind of faded away after the years. So, but there was nothing like the '80s and '90s and early 2000s. So I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'll agree.
UK was
Not for the
fantastic.
groupies. I'll just agree for watching it.
UK was fantastic. Believe me, everywhere we went, man. Whether it was Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, here, there. I mean, just it was phenomenal.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? I'm going to give you another one here, and it is Ribbers, Pranksters. My other book I wrote was on Owen Hart, so he's probably got to come in there as well. But
Right.
best or most memorable prank that you got with?
Um, I'd say after when they cut my hair and shaved my eyebrow.
Oh, did they?
So that was Davy Boy. I think it was definitely Davy Boy, Bulldog. So he got me, but he used to get everybody. So I mean, everybody used to have a half an eyebrow on a tour bus, hair shaved, and I mean they would do it on planes. Mr. Perfect was a great ribber too. He was a great ribber. Him, I'd say Bulldog, Perfect, Owen Hart for sure. All great ribbers, and a lot of it was for fun. But a lot of people took a lot of stuff really serious and took it out of concept, but like you went too far.
Yeah.
But it was a good laugh sometimes.
I've actually got a
Only
quote
when
from
it
the.
didn't happen to you.
Yeah. I've got a quote from you actually in the book, and it's the time apparently Owen Hart just came in as a Blue Blazer, and
Yeah.
you saw him in the back dicking around with the audio equipment.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
do you remember that
yes,
one?
yes. He used to when I used to do that, like as in between I'm reffing or doing production, when the refs are in the ring, I was doing like production with the headphones and it'd be in the back with the music. So, and a lot of times the Chief J Strombo and Jack Lanza would be the agents, and they're strict agents, man. And I remember went to the bathroom for like not even 5 minutes, or if you walked away, went to the bathroom, I had to piss so bad. So I go there, come back, and all of a sudden I'm in the bathroom in the stall, and all I hear is the music's playing. And I'm like, what the? I'm like, that match not supposed to be over for like 15 more minutes. So I'm like, holy shit. So I go run back to the thing, and Jack Lyons is sitting there. He's like, who's playing the fucking music? And I'm like, it wasn't me. It wasn't me, Jack. I'm telling you, I didn't even touch the fucking thing. I get on the headset. I'm like, hey, why did you play that music, man? The match's not even over. He goes, somebody just got on, told me to hit the music, play the music, play the music. And I'm like, what? So I look over, and there's Owen just smirking and laughing, shit eating grin. And I'm like, oh my God. So let alone I never left the headsets alone again. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I bet you're drinking like half measures of water.
Man, I'll tell you, it's just, like people used to there's people who used to get 15 pizzas delivered to the room. And Owen would call up and deliver like 10 or 15 pizzas to somebody's room. And they'd be stuck, have to paint it, already charged, and would charge the room or something. So and it was just like, oh, the ribs. And the main thing is people would order food at the bar and drinks and then put it to somebody else's room all the time. You'd wake up and you'd have like this 400 quid pound bill at the hotel. It's like 700-800 American. You're like, what? This wasn't me. And you're going down the whole list. See, this is not even my signature. But yeah.
I'm gonna give you a serious one. Did you ever get because Don and I were talking about Dynamite Kid yesterday, in fact, and
Yeah.
did you ever get the H bomb?
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably H-bomb yourself. I would H-bomb myself,
Oh,
to
did
be
you?
honest. Yeah, me and Joey Morella, we used to H-bomb ourselves and sleep on the planes or sleep on. But yeah, those things are dangerous, man. Quite dangerous. I mean, you can take those things and drink them and then walking around blacked out for hours and not even know what was going on. But yeah, you got to be careful with those things.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
always have your thumb over the bottle when you're walking around, man.
Oh yeah, cover your drink, mate.
Cover your drink, matey.
Cover that proper Stella or Guinness.
Oh, man, that's the other thing Don's going on about all the time. God, I'd murder a Stella. We don't get Stella here in Hawaii anymore. He'd murder one right now.
Oh wow, yeah, Stella. Proper Stella is great, man. Fantastic.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, on the counter, on the sort of same side of the coin as the ribs, is you've been in the ring so many matches, thousands, tens of thousands probably. What are some
Yeah.
of the most memorable or amusing botches that you remember?
Um, the botches, I don't know. I can't really say like there's too many botches in my career to really like. I mean, there's been a few incidents where injuries have occurred and stuff like that. You know, whether it was Daniel Bryan getting injured and they had to stop the match with Randy Orton, and he really didn't want that match stopped at all. He
Hmm.
was pissed. He was quite pissed, mate. And but I got the call from the back. Um, yeah, I botched a couple matches in my time. I know that. I know I did one with R-Truth and Shinsuke a couple years ago, and it was kind of actually Vince loved it, and I was like, oh my God. R-Truth tells me the wrong fucking finish, and he's like, Donnie, you said you're only getting schoolboyed once, and he was like, oh my bad, dog. I'm sorry, man. And he had the U.S. title or something, or the 24-hour title, or U.S. title, I think. So it was kind of funny, but and I thought I was going to get a bunch of heat coming back, and Vince was like, "No, actually, that was phenomenal. I loved it." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Okay, great." I'm like, so, but not too many botches in my career. I mean, when I was younger, like little things and stuff like that, but I can't really, remember messing up too many three counts or false finishes.
Do you remember any time when you were in the ring and the two guys going at it, whoever they may be, and they're on the floor, or let's say they're on the mat in a headlock, and you can just tell that there's a bit of
Tension.
animosity or tension between
Oh,
them, and then maybe a bit of a hard punch gets thrown and
oh yeah.
anything like that where it just looked like it was going to escalate.
Oh yeah. There was a ton of matches like that. I mean, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton. I remember in that match. It was a pay-per-view in Brooklyn, and Brock kind of gashed him open, and I could tell there was some kind of something going on, but I didn't know if it was really Brock towards Randy or it was just Brock listening to what the office wanted him to do when Randy had a little bit of heat at that time. And he gashed him open real bad over the forehead, and you could tell he was going for it because he was just elbow to forehead. And I was kind of shocked that they would do that because it was kind of like concussion protocol was still strong at that time. It was just a few years ago, and yeah, I mean there was a lot of things like back in the day. It was called a receipt. When a wrestler would hit somebody real hard and not take care of them or something like that, or knock their jaw out of whack, they'd come back right with a receipt right then and there. We're 5 minutes later and say, "Here you go. Here's our receipt for that fucking punch." But it's a lot of stuff happens. Wrestling is very physical. It's entertainment, but it's very physical.
Just going back on the Brock Lesnar Randy, there's something in the back of my mind makes me think that's familiar. What was the fallout from that? You'll have to tell me.
Well, the Brock Lesnar, there wasn't a fallout between Brock and Randy, but they just didn't talk all day. So something was going on. So I don't know if it was really from the office with Brock telling them, how they wanted it, or I don't think Randy really had too much heat with Brock. You know what I'm saying? Because he kind of knew what was coming. I think.
Yeah, possibly a directive, maybe.
Yeah. So coming from the top, coming from the top.
I'll tell you what, right? I'm going to give you I keep calling it personality test. It's not a personality test, but I keep calling it. I'm going to throw out a few little lines at you. You give me the first name that comes to your mind, and if there's a little story that goes with it, please throw that in as well. And I'm going to give you the first one: last man standing at the bar.
Last man standing at the bar. That would be sometimes me, man. But yeah, there was definitely. I loved how European bars, especially all over the UK, they would stay open for us, man. We'd come in at 2:00, 3:00 in the morning, and there's a waitress or a bartender, a couple of bartenders, and I'm like, holy shit, you guys stayed open for us? Oh yeah. We knew you were coming in this late. So I'd collect money from everybody, whether it was like 10 pounds from each person, and tip them guys like 100, 200 pounds or something like that for staying up for late, and we'd be up till 6 a.m. I mean, John Cena had a good reputation of that too. Now he was at the hotel bar. To be honest with you, like we liked the hotel bars, especially in the 80s and 90s. But I used to like to go out, and I used to explore. Like I remember we used to go to Stringfellas way back in the late 80s. Like it was a wild bar, that place. And we used to go down to Piccadilly Square and just go out all over the place. And into London. Just it was just amazing. It's a great city, fantastic
Just
city. And I mean,
crawling up and
yeah,
down.
I mean, London was always open later than like Birmingham's only open till 2 in the morning, unless you go to a private club or and stuff like that. So in certain places, but Sheffield and all these other places, Nottingham, I love that place. Latino Chinos, what was it? Chino Latinos. It was a sushi Asian place inside this hotel. It was a fantastic place in Nottingham. But we used to stay up until like
I,
6, 7 in the morning.
Did you ever in the early like 90s, late 80s go to the Hacienda in Manchester?
Hacienda, probably we probably did. We probably did. I remember going to so many places.
Yeah.
Manchester was always a good place to go out, Birmingham and all that. So
Okay,
that's
I'm going to give you the next one. Most beautiful diva woman wrestler in real life.
in real life, woman wrestler. I would probably have to say, let's see, there is a good wrestler or just
Not just anyone.
talk about the Kelly Kellys, the Tori Wilsons. I mean, he had a lot of Sable. She was a beautiful diva way back then, and but she wasn't really a wrestler, that's for sure. Trish Stratus, she was one. I always liked Sensational Sherry back in the day when she was just, she was a great wrestler and she had a lot of spunk and charisma, and she didn't take no shit from any of the boys, man. She was a kick-ass woman.
Yeah. I'm going to give you biggest bully.
What's that?
I'm going to give you biggest bully.
Biggest bully. Let's see. I would probably say Sid Vicious back in his day.
Oh, really?
Probably one of the biggest bullies or something like that. Yeah, I'd say Sid Vicious maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, not too many of them. I mean, like when you had the cliques were the bullies. When you had like certain cliques, the BSK clique was cool. Then you had the Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Diesel, and the DX clique. That was I seen them bully some of the boys around back in the day in Europe tours. That's for sure, man.
I'm going to give you this one, and everybody has pleaded the fifth on this one. Biggest stooge for the dirt sheets.
Stooge for the dirt sheets. I don't know, man. I always heard Harold Finkel was the stooge back in the day. But I don't know. You couldn't really pinpoint who that stooge was sometimes, So I mean, is there anybody on your mind who you heard?
No. Everybody's always got an answer and then declines to say it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys right into the dirt sheets, I think, but you never can pinpoint something on, But I miss Howard Finkel. He was a great announcer, man. His voice was one of like the only captivating. That's what Tony Chimmel learned a lot of. He actually took Howard Finkel's place at some point, and Howard Finkel taught Tony Chimmel a lot of stuff in ring announcing.
I'm going to give you most memorable backstage fight.
Backstage fight, probably have to stay. Wasn't too much of a fight with. I mean, when Brett hit Vince, Brett, knocked out, like he punched Vince right in the face the one time. I remember Nails hitting Vince. He was an old time wrestler. He was the guy.
I like how you remember all the ones where Vince is like the victim.
Yeah, I mean, I just I remember like not really so many backstage fights, but there was a lot of fights at the bars between the boys. I remember when Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels used to go at it all the time. They'd come in black and blue, highs black and blue, bloody everywhere. The next day, cuts. And I'd be like, man, who did you guys fight last night? And they're like, each other. I'm like, what? You guys are boys. But, yeah, I mean, there's backstage fights. I'm sure there was a couple. I can't remember them right now, but have you heard of any?
Many people have said, a few people have said Big Show, Giant Carly. There was a
very
weird one.
I remember that in the locker room. That was kind of quick, though. That was kind of, I remember that fight. But that wasn't really, it didn't pan out to be nothing. Nobody got hurt. There's a couple big guys tumbling around, and Steven Regal jumped in there and he put a big grasp on Khali and stuff. So kind of, in a whole, there was another probably instance, which was a quick one, which was Russo brother,
Yeah.
Jacques Russo knocking Dynamite Kid out in Montreal. I remember that, and that was a receipt. That was paybacks coming, from Jacques, from him getting hit and getting knocked out from Dynamite one day. So I mean, but that wasn't really a fight. It was kind of just he had a roll of quarters in his hand, and he snuck them and boom, knocked his 4 teeth out, man.
Mm.
So that was pretty much it.
Well, this next one you'll know better than probably anyone else. Who calls their spots the loudest?
John Cena.
Ah.
He used to sometimes call spots out. God bless his heart. I love him, man. He's a great worker, great guy and stuff. But sometimes, man, I used to cringe, man, when he first came in. He'd be like, all right, I'll shoot you to the ropes. And I'd be like, oh my God, like the fifth row's here in this. But, yeah, but he didn't really care. He didn't care, but he used to call them spots out pretty loud.
Biggest ladies man.
Biggest ladies man. I'd have to say Carlito.
You are the third person to say Carlito. He must just have some rep, I'm telling you.
That means I'm telling the truth here, mate.
Yeah, definitely. Funniest thing you
Yeah,
ever saw.
my boy Carlito, boy, he's a ladies' man, that's for sure.
And I spoke to Carlito and he was like, not me. It was like, man, the modesty of the guy, I tell you.
The modesty is great, too. That's what I love about it, too.
The funniest thing you saw on an airplane?
The funniest thing, Ric Flair butt naked when he opens that robe up, when he changes into that robe in the bathroom and comes out and just goes, woo, and just flashes everybody, man. It's a huge pop for the boys.
Did you were you on the plane ride from hell?
No, yeah, I just did an interview on Dark Side of the Ring a couple months ago with that. Should be airing out. So I was on that with the fight with Perfect and Brock Lesnar and stuff. And this one's pissing all over the place. And X-Pac's cutting his hair and cutting his hair off. And I was in the back. I was trying to keep cool. I kept looking up. Then the fight broke out. I was like, fuck that. I'm not even touching that thing. So not getting involved in that. I mean, the top talent, everybody was up. Vince. That was the last time Vince flew a commercial flight with us. That was the last time.
Do you remember what Michael? Because I've heard something, but do you remember what Michael Hayes did to get the chop from X-Pac?
I think he wouldn't give him a push.
Right.
Kept jobbing him out. I think the Hardys was his boys then when he first came in, young Hardys. But I remember X-Pac, he had heat with him big time for something, and he wouldn't give him a singles push or anything. There was a lot of heat between there. Because, Michael Hayes was an agent, producer at that time and stuff, and a fantastic producer and agent as well in this business. And, Michael passed out. And that's, like I said, that's the last thing you want to do on these flights is pass out on the bus or these flights because shit happens. Well, back then it did.
Do you, there's one other thing that I remember that no one ever really seems to back up is, did you ever hear that Michael Hayes, he was absolutely out of it on whatever he was on, and he tried to do a piss on Linda McMahon? He was at the urinal.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, it was almost done. He didn't even know where he was at, I think. So, so I mean, he was on cloud 9 or something, and it was probably just, remember they drank all the alcohol for that plane. We killed the alcohol big time, and I just stayed back and I was just watching and shit was just going crazy. I remember keeping my hat on, I had my sunglasses on at night. So this way, if I fell asleep and I had to lift the sunglasses or the hat, you'd feel it or something. But
I just like anonymous Mike Chioda in the back there. I was never here.
Yeah, I remember getting half my eyebrows shaved, and I remember we were actually in Germany on a whole long tour, and Brett's sitting there in the bathroom, and I didn't realize until I was brushing my teeth when we got to the arena. I went, holy shit, it's half an eyebrow. And then Brett's like laughing because I'm selling it in the mirror, Bret Hart. And he's like, oh my God, Coyote, what happened? I was like, somebody got me, Brett. Got half my eyebrow. So then I was like, Brett, man, you're an artist, man. Can you like color it in with something? So we tried like a marker. We tried this. Didn't look good at all. So he's like, man, I'm afraid, Coyote, we're gonna have to shave the other half. That's the only way. So I had like these two little stubbles for a while.
I'm gonna give you. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna give you one more, and I've. Oh, that was it. I have remembered it. I hadn't written it down, but I was just thinking about it. Was the wrestler who, when you had to take a fall or get wiped out, the one who
Right.
hit you the hardest?
Um, I mean, there's a ton of times, man. Ahmed Johnson tried to throw me over the ropes from the center of the ring. He was so blown up with Triple H, he put me in the hospital.
Oh
I had
God,
like my
really?
nerve damage. Yeah, I had nerve damage. Couldn't feel anything for like a minute or two, but I thought it was it. But I took a stinger. Um, I got thrown over the top rope by Taker. Sean was supposed to catch me on the floor, never did. There's just a lot of bumps. I mean, I remember got my nose broke from Sean when he was giving the forearm to somebody, and one of the boys, he ducks down, hits me, bumps me, but I didn't turn my face. I kind of looked right at it instead of turning my face. Broke my nose. A lot of injuries in the ring, on and off throughout the years. That's for sure.
I'll tell you all right. We're gonna go off on that little sort of game, and I'm gonna give you the WCW before the invasion. Actually, when WWF actually bought the place.
Right.
I imagine you remember that pretty clearly and everything. But do you remember when the WCW wrestlers were starting to get integrated into the locker room? Can you talk about just what a fractious time that was?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. I mean, when Charles Robinson, Nick Patrick, and them guys came over, like we welcomed them with open hearts. I mean, knowing that at that time WWE, WWF was the only business in town. At one point, when WCW was doing fantastic and Nitro was killing us in the ratings, we actually thought we'd be hopefully getting a job down south because we thought we were going to get put out of business. So, when them guys came and Charles is still going strong, which is fantastic and very good friend of mine, and we talk, communicate a lot. He's a great guy and one of the best reps ever in this business as well. I mean, Nick Patrick kind of faded out over the years, but and it was a great thing. I mean, even doing it, like my first time ever working with a tag match, a 6-man tag match with The Rock, Chris Jericho, and the Dudleys and Nick Patrick, and it was phenomenal. That was the only time I don't believe any other rep has done something like that. And look where The Rock is right now. And then you look where Chris Jericho is right now. 20 years later, they're still going strong. And on top of the wrestling business is Chris Jericho, Y2J, and The Rock's on top of Hollywood, and phenomenal shape. And it's just like to be to be a part of that match with two guys, legends like that is phenomenal. And being in the ring with Hogan and Rock is phenomenal. And so, with the career I've had, I've been blessed with a great career.
Just with that match, actually, because that was the next thing I was going to ask you. Was I know you did like a bit of rolling around in the ring just as you were becoming a referee in the late '80s, but did you
Yeah.
just basically pick up by osmosis like what you had to do in the ring and how to work a match because you've just been there so many times, or did you
Right.
have to be taken, to sort of like learn how to throw a punch?
Yeah, no, I learned, and that's the thing. Like I was telling you with Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, and Horowitz, and a lot of guys used to come to the. We used to set the ring up and be at the arena all day, and then the guys that had come in early, we used to bump around with the guys in the ring and mess around and learn how to bump and take suplexes and this, and that's how you learned, and you learned every day, and you messed around in the ring with yourself, like a couple other guys with Tony Chimmel, and you hitting the ropes, and you're just doing a bunch of stuff.
I'm gonna get right. I always keep saying I always get in this habit of saying, "Oh, fair enough," or then I'm gonna give you another one. I just got this like weird catchphrase that seems to
That's all
develop on
right.
every single one.
That's all right.
I'm going to give you this
Shoot.
one then. How did refereeing change over the years then? Because at some point you got the earpieces, and then at
Right.
some point you then started relaying information from the back and dictating the match. So when did that start, and how did that evolve over the
Well,
years?
that started many years ago. We didn't have that in 2002. We didn't have that. It kind of it went transition to where that we needed to communicate with them because if somebody got hurt, so they needed to know. Before it was Mark Eaton at the timekeeping table for years, and he'd give the pencil to go home, and he'd give you the cues with the fingers, and each one like this meant 15 minutes. Then you would go 2, 3, that was 13 minutes. If certain ways you would hit the time cues. So I mean, And then at that point, like if something happened, you would relay something to Mark Keaton at the timekeeper table, during the match or anything. But they needed to communicate with the back, and then the producers wanted to really dictate a lot of the match and control it. Which, to be honest with you, a lot of the boys, a lot of the old school guys and stuff like that, and guys that have been around for a while, they don't listen to them anyway. So, but I mean, you do got things when they're seeing things from a perspective on TV. They need to translate and relay something to the boys or something like that so they can make adjustments. But
Does that mean you also had a microphone if you needed to talk back?
yeah, a little microphone here with a little thing on the clip on the back, so you flip up the clip and then you'd be able to talk, switch just on and off. So.
When did the era of changing rules happen? Because I remember one point in maybe the early 2000s where all the refs and all the wrestlers were told, call the matches as if it was,
A
a
shoot.
shoot. And then
Right.
in the very first match it happened, someone got thrown into the stairs and they got DQ'd straight away, and then it was 10 minutes
Yeah.
earlier than it should have stopped. So when did all that happen, and how did that evolve over the years as well?
Yeah, I mean, that happened. It went on and off 10, 15 years ago, and just it became like, okay, we were enforcing the rules. We don't want the referees touched. You can't bulk up to a referee. You can't, if you push them, you're going to get DQ'd. And it was kind of like, it was good, but we did go overboard with it probably a little bit too much. But I mean, it is good to really have the rules, because you don't want the heat to go on the referee. You want the heat to stay on with the heels, or whoever's getting the heat. And if the referee is not implying the rules and you're just letting him do whatever, of course the referee's going to get heat. It's going to like, oh, that guy's not doing his job. There are rules and regulations. So when you're not applying in wrestling, yeah, it does hurt. But I mean, I kind of like the way the WWE goes about their rules with wrestling, because they definitely tighten it up.
Are there any like secret rules that are not like conveyed to the audience through commentary or anything else that the referees and the wrestlers have to adhere to?
I mean, no, there's not really secret rules, but you extend the 10 count. When they're on the outside, you can extend the 10 count. You work with it. The referee can do his own way of extending the 10 count, and not, like counting so fast or something like that. You slow down your count, or you don't start your count till late. You can, the 5 count, if the guy's not breaking it, you stop it for it and pull him off, so you don't have to DQ him. But, the X sign is when somebody's hurt, and that's a shoot. That's so, there's a lot of different ways a referee has to work with the talent.
And also, there's one where I've heard that the tag matches, well, it's officially but unofficially, they only get
Right.
one break of the pin, but that's never told to the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's true. It's like, well, they get one break on each side, to run in and break up something, or break a hold up, or break a pin up. Yeah, they started doing that. Like one side would get one time of a break, and the other side, and I just, it's just, I guess that they didn't want too many, they just wanted to like tighten things up. But sometimes I think it would happen a little bit more in certain matches. You get the leniency to other matches. So.
I'll tell you, all right, we're going to go to sort of the grand finale, and if we've got a bit of time, I'll re-edit a couple more questions in if you fancy doing them. That's a bit of a secret for the podcast fans out there. But I call it the firing line. I'm going to fire some names out. It's sort of like the personality test that is not a personality test. I'm going to give you some names. You tell me what you think of them, and if the funny story happens to tumble from your lips, then so be it. And the first one is Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn. Yeah, he's a great producer, fantastic. Been with the company many, many years. The only thing about Kevin is when he's outside that TV truck, he's always on his cell phone. And people used to question whether he was on his cell phone because he didn't want to talk to nobody and acting like he was on his cell phone. You always heard that for sure. But he's a busy man. He's Vince McMahon's right-hand man in that business. And it's like, it goes really like Vince and Kevin Dunn right there. So, yeah, Kevin Dunn is God in the TV world, in the wrestling industry, that's for sure.
Right, here's a really random one. Bill Dunn.
Bill Dunn.
Yeah.
He was a marketing guy. He used to do you're talking about Bill Dunn, the marketing guy. He used to announce sometimes.
Yes, yeah, he was on a WrestleMania 10 for a little bit. He was on a few shows
Yeah,
around 94, 95, then disappeared.
yeah, Bill Dunn. I just actually got questioned about him the other day on a podcast that had free shows. Yeah, he did all merchandise. He did merchandise like Jimmy Miranda used to do merchandise for the company and certain things. And Jimmy Miranda used to ring announce a few live events, TVs maybe back in the day. But Bill Dunn was a ring announcer too, but he did the merchandise stands and stuff in the arenas. And then just one day, Bill had went his own separate way with the company and just left the company. Had no idea why.
No, he just one of those names that just practically no one remembers, but I always remember him because that's when I started watching. The
Yeah,
next one, Lex Luger.
Lex Luger. Yeah, I mean, great guy. Feel bad for him in the situation and type he's in, but he used to phenomenal body and he was an unbelievable guy and wrestler and just feel bad he's going through some health problems right now and stuff. But he used to him and Sid. There's some big boys, man. There were some big boys, man. That's for sure.
Everyone's got an opinion on this next one, Sonny.
Yeah, Sonny. She was a wild one, mate. She was a wild one. God bless Chris, man. I mean, I used to feel bad for him, but yeah. I remember one time in Europe, she was a prima donna, yada yada yada, and she was a wild one around the locker room, that's for sure. But she was always a good girl to me. She was always very nice and stuff. But I remember she had we got on a tour bus and we used to get on the buses after a show, and he used to have meals and catering, which catering was fantastic in Europe. So we'd have boxes and it'd be listed like beef stew, this, that. They'd even have banoffee pie to go for us or something else. And they'd have chicken in this to go. So I remember she got beef stew with so many shit in that beef stew. And she started eating it up in the front of the bus, and all I hear her scream, like, ah! And I'm like, what the hell happened up there? And then the word trickled back, oh, somebody shit in her beef stew, man. And she was eating quite a bit of it, man. Oh. So, yeah, she had some heat back then.
You'd have to. Who was the depositor or the donor? Do you know?
I don't know. We still don't know to this day. Still don't know.
The next one.
It was one of. I would say it was one of the clique. That's for sure.
I've heard X-Pac.
I've heard a couple guys. Heard that too.
Paul Roma.
Man, miss him. God, I wonder what Paul's doing these days. Phenomenal guy, man. Real cool guy from the East Coast. I believe he was still from New York or the East Coast, and he was just Guido-looking guy, just a phenomenal body. And Paul Roma, yeah, it's a quick story here. I'll tell you. Paul Roma was working with Hercules. It was Power and Glory. We were actually in Birmingham, England. And I'm doing the first match, and they had the first match coming out. And I look over, and I'm a huge fan of Led Zeppelin. And I look over, and I'm like, holy shit, that looks like Robert Plant. So I'm like, yo, man, I'm like, that's fucking Robert Plant. So Paul comes in the ring, and Hercules, and they're like, oh, Chioda, stop smoking that hash, man, or because I remember it was in the 80s at some point. We were smoking a lot of hash in Europe. And I said, no, I'm not fucking kidding you, man. I'm like, yeah, a tie-dye shirt on, everything like that. Where is that picture frame at right now? I got it somewhere. And so we're sitting there, and next thing you know, I go to backstage after the match, and I keep looking at Robert Plant, and he just goes like this to me, And he was with his little son, because his daughter had passed away, when she was young, at that time.
Yeah, that's why they broke up more or less, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah. And next thing you know, intermission, I'm telling Hogan this, and I'm telling all the guys, yo, Robert Plant's here, man. Robert Plant's here. And they're like, oh, man, Chioda, shut up. You fuck are you on? You're too high. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, man, I'm a huge fan of Led Zeppelin. So next thing you know, man, who comes back and with a bunch of security dudes and his little boy was Robert Plant. And I remember Hogan, all the boys, Paul Roma, rushed him. Everybody was like rushing for a picture for this and talking to Robert Plant. And his little boys running around going, "Daddy, Daddy." I'm like, "Yo, guys, this is his son, man. Pay attention to his son." And I got a good picture with Robert Plant, and everything. And God, where is that picture? It's somewhere around here, but love to show it to you. It's an 8x10. But yeah, it was definitely phenomenal, man. Met Robert Plant in Birmingham, England.
Yeah, I went to go see him a couple of years ago, and do you know what? I was a bit gutted because like I thought, oh, he's going to do a load of Led Zeppelin, and he sort of
Yeah.
did a few Led Zeppelin songs, and then he mishmashed all the music up, so we didn't even know what. Apart from
Wow.
Ramble On, which was like the record, everything else was like Kashmir. You couldn't even work out what the song was. Bob Dylan does the same thing now. They just mix it up to amuse themselves, and everyone else is
Really?
sat there going, what
Damn.
famous song is this?
Yeah. The last time I seen Plant was Pictures at 11 or something, man. It was some years ago, many years ago. So
Right, so Giant Gonzalez.
John Gonzalez, he was actually big guy. Didn't stick around too long. And actually, I remember meeting Big Show at a nightclub in Philadelphia, and he was a bouncer in this club in Delaware River, off the Delaware River in Philadelphia. And I told Pat Patterson this, and I gave Pat Patterson, here's Paul White's number. You got to call him. He's giant. He's like Andre the Giant. He's huge. He's 7 foot. Pat, next thing you know, Big Show winds up on WCW. And I go up to Pat and I'm like, "Pat," I said, "did you not call this guy?" He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That was the guy, the number you gave me?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "This guy was a giant. I told you." He goes, "I thought you meant Giant Gonzalez. We already signed it." And I was like, "No, that's the guy." And I remember Vince went, "What the fuck?" And he slammed the door because they were watching it in their office and stuff. And I come walking by and see the show on WCW. And that's when I asked Pat right in front of Vince. And then Vince goes, "Excuse me, Mike." He slams the door. "Pat, what the fuck? We had this guy." So yeah, that's the story between Giant Gonzalez and me, really.
So that reminds me of. So they signed the wrong Giant, and they also signed the one-legged wrestler once as well instead of Zach Gowen,
Yeah,
I
right.
believe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, they signed the Giant, but that's who Pat thought I was talking about, because when I was referring to as a giant, 7 foot tall, Pat thought I ran into him. He didn't even know anything about Big Show.
I'll give you a few more then. Bruce Pritchard.
Good guy, man. Hell of a guy in business. Worked with Bruce for many years. Great mind for the business. And I used to love when he was Brother Love, man. I used to enjoy it, man. We used to do all the stage setting up for Brother Love back in the day. And I used to pop huge on that character. I love you. It's pretty damn cool, man. But Bruce Pritchard, great guy. Many years.
Heidenreich.
Heidenreich, stiff worker. Not too much, a very stiff worker. That's how I remember him.
Michael Cole.
Great guy, man. One of the best commentators in professional wrestling. So he is the best, and he's training all the other guys, and he's still doing his thing, and known him for many years, and great relationship with Michael Cole's back then. And I wish him all the best, man, because he's a great guy and one of the best in the business, like JR and Michael Cole, King Lawler.
Insane Clown Posse.
I was a quick gimmick that ran through the WWF at one time, so it was a cool character. It painted the faces and all that stuff, so it was just they were in and out.
That was a total punt on my part. Nails
hitting Vince McMahon because he got a shitty payoff.
I'll give you a few more. Honky Tonk Man.
Great, man. Used to love his gimmick. A lot of character. He used to come out in them suits all the time, the blue ones and the white ones, and that guitar. And I loved his entrance music, man. He was a hell of a worker, man. Took his character really serious too.
Yeah, Jimmy Hart did quite a few of those, didn't he? Quite a few of the classics.
Yeah, sure did. Sure did.
A couple more. Brian Clark, Adam Bomb.
Oh, Adam Bomb, man. Great dude. Miss him. Yeah, we traveled the road a lot over the years, man. Adam Bomb, and he had a good thing going on, big boy, and he was a really cool guy. He was a cool dude.
And Do you know what? I had one that I sort of don't want to ask really because it might not yield the best answer, like not the funniest answer. So I'll give you another one, and if this doesn't yield the answer, I'll answer the other one. Can
All
you
right.
semen? Who is that guy?
Yeah, I don't really. It's just I've heard of him too, but he's just really no, don't much of him.
No,
So
I like how all the things was semen released or semen fired.
yeah,
It's like, dude, change your name, dude.
yeah, I can't really. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't really. I don't know comment on
Go
that.
on. I'll give you the last one. Triple H.
Triple H, amazing career. What he's had, and where he's gone to. I was just watching something with Warrior on Dark Side of the Ring, and I remember when Triple H first came in as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and he worked with Warrior at WrestleMania, and I had that match. It went like 30 to 45 seconds. So look at where Triple H went from there to the DX into the DX mode, after 96 and the late 90s and early 2000 to where he boosted up his career and he took the business a whole another level, man, with DX, and it was phenomenal. But he's running the company now.
I can't let Ultimate Warrior Triple H go. So you were the ref there. Did you remember any planning backstage of what was going to happen? Were you privy to that?
Wasn't much planning. It was 30 something seconds. It was just he comes in, hits the ropes. I think he gives him 3 clotheslines or something, and he squashes them and beats them 1, 2, 3. It was in and out. It was actually one of the most easiest matches I've had at wrestling.
Well, do you just when Ultimate Warrior he gets the pedigree and then he stands up just like that, like absolutely nothing. Do you remember watching that and just thinking, oh my god?
Yeah, well, it's the way it was. I mean, Warrior was, he was hard to work with a lot of guys back then, and they thought, I think Vince just got enough of his bullshit at the time. But he was a great guy to me. Jimmy Elwood was a great guy to me. He was always cool with me. I was a referee, so all I had to do was just do my job inside the ring. It wasn't like I had to go over on him or he had to beat me and I was being difficult because I wasn't a worker. So yeah, I mean, he had it was difficult to work with a little bit there. So with Jimmy, but I mean, he was just he was a no sell kind of guy too. He didn't sell much, that's for sure. And I felt bad because the way he came back finally to the WWE after like 20 years, goes to the Hall of Fame, and then like a couple of days later he passes away. It was amazing. Just a sad story.
Yeah, I mean, just that last interview he gave as well, it was almost prophetic, wasn't it?
I know. Yeah, it was just it's sad, man. See, it's always sad. He's 54 years old. It's sad to see a wrestler go out that young, and the way he went out. 20 years disbarred from the business, and then boom, gets a chance at the Hall of Fame, inducted to the Hall of Fame, and then passes away less than a week later.
I'll tell you what, I didn't even go through half the questions that I wanted to ask you. I had so many, and then we've just gone so many different places, and it's all good stuff, and I'm so glad we did it. We can either do more, but we've already gone over our hour, so it's entirely up to you.
We'll do just a couple more.
How's that? Go on then. You're feeling charitable.
We'll do a part 2. We'll do a part 2 sometime down the road.
If you want to, I'll definitely do it. I'll tell you what. I'll give you the last 2 I've written down here, and one of them is in the spirit of Rodney Dangerfield, who in the WWE just doesn't get enough respect.
I was actually, what was that show with the murderers when Rodney Dangerfield's watching TV?
I've seen the one where he goes to university. That's the only film I've seen with him in.
Oh, that's the only one you've seen?
Oh, and Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers.
That's the one.
I was actually on there doing doing Tatanka's match when he's watching it, going all nuts. I remember I popped views. I'm in the movie theaters watching that. Rodney Dangerfield, watching in that movie. And all of a sudden I see myself. I'm like, man, they didn't pay me nothing to do this movie. But who doesn't get enough respect is the referees in the business. The referees, in the WWE, actually, AEW lets their referees be who they want to be, and do things and, have dolls and merchandise and so forth. And they actually have a character. But, my thing is when they're in the ring, though, I'd like to see them tighten up the rules a little bit more. Still can have a character at certain times, but, when they're in the ring, it should be a job they should do, straight down the middle. But yeah, I'd say in the WWE, the referees don't get as much respect as they should.
Right, well, I'll give you one more then, and then we will end on this because I know we're over time and everything, and I've really enjoyed it. But this is the biggest question I'm going to ask you, and this is not just limited to referees. You get 3 things to change about WWE's outputs as far as television to make it more enjoyable. What 3 things would you change?
I would probably, a lot of the high flying should maybe cut down a little bit, but I do like that with certain guys in the ring. When you see the Usos and certain guys like flying over the ropes, or Daniel Bryan and certain guys coming off the top, it is phenomenal. But I would probably change the amount of pay-per-views they did. We went from like 4 or 5 major pay-per-views, so you could really tell a story, to the next major pay-per-view. I would probably cut down. Then we went to 12 pay-per-views a month. You wouldn't have enough time to tell a story. That'd probably be the number one thing, is to cut the amount of pay-per-views so you can tell a really good story going into 3 months to the next pay-per-view.
And probably, do you know what? I'm going to ask this as well. Have you love the high flying and everything like that. Have you ever tried to emulate it and jump over the ropes and land on the floor just to see what it felt like?
Oh, yeah. I pulled my knee up too, man. Twisted my knee up.
Oh, did you?
You know where that was? That was actually in 92. We had built the stage, the ring, on like a 5 to 6 foot platform. And I remember we put the barricades, and I remember I had to go get something. And I remember I jumped the barricade and I forgot about the extra 6 feet from the platform. Man, I just blew my knee right out. Right before a big show, I had to get it taped up. Had Hawk and Animal working on my knee. I had somebody draining my knee because it was full of blood and fluid. And I remember Animal, Joe Laurinaitis, actually Johnny Laurinaitis' brother, God bless his heart. He passed away not too long ago. He taped my knee up for me, got me through that whole match. That was awesome. But yeah, I remember that. I was at least about 12, 11 feet in the air, because he had to jump the barricade, and that barricade's about 4 or 5 feet high, and then at another 6 feet to go. It's about 11 or 12 feet. I went, oh shit, bang, blew my knee out, tore some ligaments.
Tell you what, if we are going to have to do a thing, I'll show you. Look at all these. I've just
wow, yeah,
loads of them. Loads of questions. We didn't get to practically anything.
Yeah, go a couple more. Shoot a couple more.
Oh really? Oh okay. Then I was going to do the end bit then. Oh my goodness me! Right. I haven't got my glasses on. Just give us. No, I can do it without my glasses. Hang on. 1 second.
Your age?
I'm 34, man. I've worn glasses all my life. I tell you, I stopped wearing them, right, because a couple of wankers on this kept going, he's like Harry Potter, he's like Harry Potter. So it's like, so I was just like, right, gone. Yep. I've not worn them since.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness me, let me have a look, see what I got here.
All right, what do you got?
Here's one. Did the referees ever have to take drug tests?
Yes.
Did they really?
Yes. Oh my God, sons of bitches, man. They used to get us. So yeah, we took drug tests, and we used to get tested for marijuana too. And that's one thing I used to like to enjoy. Like when you're on the road, I probably smoked a lot more than I drank, because you got in trouble when you drank, and you didn't want to drink too much, waking up with hangovers. Marijuana was my thing, and it would calm you down at nights and put you to sleep from long days and long nights. And a lot of guys did. But we would get fined $2,500 American if we failed it. So we wouldn't get suspended for marijuana. And drug tests were a good thing to take, because a lot of the pills and heavy drugs out there, and a lot of guys could do a lot of things around when you travel around the world. But and I thought the drug testing was very good, because it would take care of, like, make sure the boys don't have a pill problem for pain and so forth. But the marijuana, they used to take our money, $2,500 a pop.
I was going to say, so did you give up, or did you just pay the weed tax?
Oh, you had to pay it, man. It was like, once you took the drug test, you get the letter, you're like, shit, and then all of a sudden you wouldn't see a check or two coming in for a while. It was like, oh, it's like you're working for free. So yeah, that hurt the pockets a little bit, but it kept you sane. That's for sure. Okay,
then. So here is the final question. Unless you want to throw some more at me, I'm going to give you ran in at the end in your house, Beware of Dogs, Shawn Michaels' British Bulldog. What do you remember of that day? It was the event where the lights go out and all of the
Right.
power goes out in the arena. Do you remember that specifically?
No, not too much. Rephrase me a little bit on that.
It was halfway through the pay-per-view. All the lights go out.
That's in your house. That's where the lights went out permanent. I mean, it went out not on purpose.
Yeah.
It was a technical it was like generators or something, right?
Yeah. It was like a generator went out, and
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
it's probably not the best question if you don't remember it. Then I'll have a look.
No,
one
I mean
more.
I kind of do, but it was really nothing much to it. It's just like the house went down and you couldn't do a show without the lights. They actually thought. I remember there was rumor they thought WCW played with the power or something. So they were actually had people watch the satellite dishes after that for a while.
There was a lawsuit over that. That was actually part of a lawsuit that WCW, because they mentioned that on WWF television, that maybe the competition had something to do with it.
Right. Yeah, I remember some was going on there, but I remember we were trying to put the heat on WCW, but it wasn't them, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
It was going on.
I'll end it on this one because that wasn't a good question to end on. Vince Russo, yay or nay?
I'd have to give him a yay, man. At that time, I mean, we were, I never had to deal with Vince Russo a lot, as far as me. I just had to do my job. But I'd have to give him a yay at that time in the business. Yeah. I mean, we were going every week. We had great ratings and everything, and he was part of that.
And did he because everything got more complicated? So your life didn't get more complicated during the Attitude Era with scripts coming in and additional brouhaha in the matches?
No, I just had to go and do my job, what I had to do. I mean, I wasn't a wrestler, so it was just he wasn't trying to lay the storyline out for me. That's for sure.
Right. So then I will shut this podcast down because there's someone downstairs who wants their dinner made for them as well. So, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw it to you in the paraphrasing Patty Smith. I hope it's Patty Smith. Hit me with your best shot. Hit me with your best plugs. What have you got going?
All right. Now I got some Monday mailbag with ad-free shows on Monday nights every 2 weeks with Paul Bromwell. Paulie Bromwell takes care of me, man, and he's a great guy. And he's doing a lot of things for ad-free shows and helped me out tremendously. And, hit me up at MJC Chioda, Chioda on Twitter. And I got some shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees, man, some designs out there, Third Man in the Ring. So kind of hopefully going to start a book, and hopefully it's going to be called Third Man in the Ring.
What's that T-shirt you're wearing there?
It's a Chioda shirt. Yeah, it's 31 years. That's one of them. A Pro Tees.
There you go. That's a pro throwing out to you there for the plugs, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Right.
31 years of referee and 35 years with the company.
Good. When's the book coming out as well? Because I've written a couple of books. I like to see them.
Yeah, we just moved to Tampa like a little over a year ago. So I still got stuff in boxes I've been pulling out. And I just sold a WrestleMania 4 and 5 turnbuckle. I had a WrestleMania 4 and 5 turnbuckle. The original ones, like the original logo that you'll see up here, but it was the blue one. So, and I had one from 4 and 5 from New Jersey, and sold them. And they've been, I'll tell you, things been going. You watch that Treasure show?
No, I've not seen it. I'm not even sure if we get it in this country yet. I know. I don't think we get Dark Side of the Ring.
Man, you should see the prices of things going. I mean, I just sold 2 turnbuckles for $1,500 a piece to collectors. So it was from WrestleMania 4 and 5. I mean, just a little turnbuckle, $1,500. I was like, okay. It's like, got more where that came from.
How come you kept them?
They were just memorabilia stuff. I mean, I was from New Jersey, so I mean, Atlantic City WrestleMania was 4 and 5, so it was just being from New Jersey, and WrestleMania 4 and 5 was in New Jersey. Kept them. I was doing ring crew, so
Did you ever get a photo with Trump while you were there?
Yeah, I did back in the day. Yeah. Sure did. Yep. Right, big guy, tall guy.
Yeah, I know he's massive, isn't he? I think he's bigger than Vince McMahon.
Yeah, he's pretty. I don't know about that way, but.
Oh, I saw the face off. He's got an inch on him. Right? I didn't see the platform shoes he was wearing or anything, but.
You got that right.
Yeah. Right, so I'm gonna put an end to this podcast. I'm gonna thank you very much, Mike. I've got 2 different cameras and a screen to look at. I'm going to look at this camera. Thank you very much for joining us with WSI. Hope we see you next week for the next installment. Cheers. And cheers, Mike, for coming and spending some time with me.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Appreciate everything, James,
Yeah.
man. And you guys be safe in the UK and everybody out there,
Yeah.
all right?
Cheers,
Safe.
mate.
All right, cheers,
Yeah.
mate.